Telecom operators in Nigeria have restricted access to Twitter a day after government announced its indefinite suspension for activities capable of undermining Nigeria's corporate existence. The suspension in Africa's most populous country came 2 days after the social media giant deleted a tweet from President Muhammadu Buhari accounting for violating its rules. The Association of Licensed Telecom Operators of Nigeria, ALTON, confirmed its members had received formal instructions from the NCC, that's the Nigerian Communications Commission, the industry regulator, to suspend access to Twitter. In compliance to this directive, network data shows that access of the Twitter platform and backend servers is now restricted. Only the network like MTN, Globalcom, Airtel, and 9Mobile. To give more insight into this development, I have the chairman of the Association of Licensed Telecom Operators of Nigeria, Engineer Gbenga Adebayo. He joins me via Skype from Victoria Island, Lagos. Good afternoon, and thank you very much for your time, sir.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
Yes. Very quickly, I would like you to also react to this. How did it come to you when the directive came from the NCC for you guys to suspend Twitter on all your networks?
Well, it came as news because we didn't receive any indications prior to the directive on Friday. So we were also as surprised as the public was, but being an industry that is highly regulated and as the operators who comply strictly with the rules of the country, we have had to carry out that instruction by the evening of Friday, 4th of June. And so at midnight and early hours of Saturday, the links to Twitter was completely disconnected and directed by government.
Now, I went through your the press release. There was a robust assessment of the directive that's in accordance to with internationally accepted principles. Can you take us through how this was done? Mr. Adebayo, did you get my question?
No, the link is very poor. I can hardly hear you. Come again.
Okay. Can you hear me now? I was asking you can you tell us about this robust assessment of that directive that was carried out by ALTON before you also passed it to your members? What was that assessment talking about internationally accepted principles?
There is the international best practice. We operate one national network that is international in nature. And so when things like this happen, we normally review alongside what happens in other jurisdictions before decisions are made. That's why in the other part of that, the second part of that paragraph of that statement, we did make a comment that though we comply with national rules, according to the Communications Act, we are mandated to follow all kinds of instructions as they may be given by our regulator. We did so, but without prejudice to our right to freedom of expression as citizens, and without prejudice to the right that people hold on both online and offline, which are supposed to be guaranteed for freedom of expression and all of that. So we weigh all this before we comply with the directive. So in essence, looking at what is international best practice alongside the regulations and regulatory environment that we are in, and a decision was made that it was in the right interest of everyone to comply with government rules in that regard, and that was exactly what we did.
But of course, revenue loss will be involved in this one way or the other. We're going to lose revenue one way or the other as operators. How does that also come to you and your members?
Well, you see, when the issue of national security is mentioned, economic considerations will take the backstage. And therefore, in responding to the directive of our regulator, There was never any consideration for the economic loss as it were. We were concerned about issues of national security, and so before any other expression is made, we ensure that we comply with the directive of government as issued, after which we can begin to offer advisory as to what we think is right for government to do and what is not right for government to do. And like I said in my opening remarks, we believe that it is in the best interest of all, and we comply with the laid down rules, which we have done, and also emphasizing our subscription to the right of freedom of expression as enshrined in the UN Charter, for people to hold the same view offline and online. They must be respected for those views. And so in taking a decision to follow the instructions of the regulator, we had no consideration whatsoever and whatsoever for economic losses, not at all.
And now many also say that Alton seems to be in between government and of course the youths who actually use this platform for their day-to-day activities, jobs and all of that. Also, I thought about that. Where is Alton's position in all of this? Are you really in between government and the people?
Well, as licensed operators, we are bound to obey the rules of the Nigerian Communications Commission, and as such, we have implemented the directive of government for the disconnection. However, as users of the service as well, and as citizens, we also hold the same views as the public. You can't penalize people for expressing their opinion on a particular platform. You can't penalize the owner of that platform for people expressing their views on that platform. So we believe that the right of citizens to express their position should be respected. We believe that that right should not be taken away under any circumstances. And in that regard, we are also raising significant concerns to government as to the consequences of the action by way of suspension of Twitter for our national network, and also minding the public perception about Nigeria and how the world views Nigeria at a time like this. It's quite very strange that at this age of information age, when we all talk about open access and digital world, our government will take a decision like this. So, in providing advice to government, we are saying to them they must look at issues on all sides. While on one count, we look at issues of national security, on another account, we also look at things that affect citizens of the country by way of the right to communicate, the right to express themselves. And we believe very strongly that government has to be receptive to criticism. It's part of good governance, and it's part of ways of holding government accountable. And so if you take out the medium by which people communicate, you are also preventing them from giving the feedback that may be required for good governance. And so in that regard, we respect the rules of government, we respect the rules of the operating environment. Consequent to that, we have complied with the directive of government, but we are also saying to government, think through this very carefully because it has long-term effects, not just on the economy, but also on those who rely on commerce to do things, and also on the international perspective of Nigeria about things like this and decisions like this at this time and age.
Now, news just in before we started this program is that we got the information that Nigerian government is given a condition to lift this suspension, and that is a responsible use of social media, and that really has to be it. That's according to the statement now from the minister. What would you say about issues of fake news and all of misinformation that has also happened on most of these platforms? How would you react to that? Being the chairman of Alton is very important.
The fact remains that we can't hold Twitter responsible for people's behavior on the platform. We can't. We must go back to our value system. And if there's anyone hold accountable for people's conduct on platforms like Twitter, it is our behavioral issues as a people. It is misplaced to blame Twitter, who is just a platform provider, for the behavior of people on their platform. We must go back to the basics and begin to ask ourselves what has happened to our value system, what has happened to our moral conscience. When people spread fake news and news that have no basis in reality on those platforms, you can't hold the operator of the platform for that. And so if there is anyone who actually should exercise responsibility in the use of this platform, it's actually we as Nigerians. And that's why we need to go back to our value system. We are not unaware today that a lot of people have all kinds of pseudo names on this platform through which they spread all kinds of information and the rest of them. You can't hold Twitter responsible for this kind of behavior. It is only our people who should be held responsible. So government should begin to look at what are the limits of behavior on the social media platform. It's Twitter today, it could be anyone else tomorrow. And in doing so, we need to address ourselves and address the reality of the problems that we face. That's on one count. On another count, the people's agitation has been conveyed on platforms like Twitter. It has real basis in reality. And when you disable Twitter, you can't disable people's right to communicate. So people still have those concerns. They will continue to express and ventilate those concerns by all and through any means that is available. It's now for government to go back to the issues that they are talking about. Do they really exist? If you say that Twitter is used to propagate things like riot and mobilize for riot and all that, does it take away the reasons why people are rioting? The answer is no. To say that people use Twitter to canvass for things that will lead to disintegration, are there fundamentals and are there truths in the things that they are saying? Maybe the answer is yes. So in that regard, government have a responsibility to ensure that people's agitation is addressed. You can't take away their platform of communication, expecting that they will go quiet and nothing will happen thereafter. So government must take responsibility. Government must accept feedback. Government must not disable people's means of communication by way of saying to them that Twitter is being abused, Twitter is being used for activities that are capable of national disintegration and going to shut down the channel. So by that, they are addressing the effect and not the cause. And we must go back to the fundamentals of the problems that we do have as a people. And really and truly, when you look at it, in many cases, those things exist. That's on one count. On another count, today we are in the digital age. Things happen and are reported as happens now. If you switch off platforms like Twitter, you deny people the right to communication, deny people the right to express their views. And government has a duty as enshrined in our constitution to give people the right of freedom of expression. So they can't take that away. Doing so, switching off Twitter is taking away the right of people to express themselves. And it doesn't cure the problem that people are talking about. So we must look at the issue of social behavior of our people on Twitter. Government must take responsibility and ownership for some of the problems that are being spoken about. And Twitter itself as an agency, as a service provider, must apply equal rules to all persons at all times. But that will be good to go. For government to say this has to be, the basis for the reconnection has to be responsible usage, I think this is an addressment for the citizens. It's actually not meant for Twitter.
So with all the conversations you're having, we would like to know what next Alton is going to be doing with regards to this, and do you see a reversal very quickly?
Well, I wouldn't know. As part of our responsibility as responsible operators is to provide feedback to government, and we are doing so as best as we can. We are giving the right feedback to government, drawing the attention to the implications of this kind of decision, not just on our economy, but also on the lives of citizens. And we hope that as we do so, government in its wisdom will consider some of the concerns that we are bringing on the table. Certainly, I must emphasize that our constitution at this time is not for economic loss, it's not for loss of revenue, it's more for the issues of efficiency of what Twitter brings to bear and what the impact of that on the lives of people. That we think government should be a lot more concerned about it. And if we talk about digital economy, social media is one of the mediums by which you can rapidly develop your economy. So if government can do this on Twitter, who knows what is next? And the world is watching. International communities are watching what's going on in Nigeria. And certainly whether we like it or not, it will impact on the language and body language and perception of investors about Nigeria. So government must look at it very quickly, and they must look at it rightly so. I don't think it's something that should happen, and I don't think the disconnection should be for a long time. Now, I think the message has been sent to all concerned, where the people must take ownership for our conduct on platforms such as Twitter. Government must be receptive to feedback and criticism, and Twitter itself must apply equal rules to all persons at all times.
All right, before I let you go, I'd like you to react to this issue because having you on the show, we've had a lot of comments with regards to this, and I don't know if you like to speak to it. That's the charge with the USSD transactions with banks. Now you see on your phone before you carry out any transaction, you are being asked to accept that particular charge would be taken off your account. I don't know. How would you? This started over the weekend, and we've gotten reactions from everyone. Would you like to speak around this?
Yes, and thank you for bringing that up. USSD service has been charged, has always been before now. But the fact is that up until now, the charges are more than 698 covered as the rate. The banks charge in excess of 10 naira for such session, 20 naira for such session in certain cases. But the feedback we got is that the bank did say that they didn't earn money from USSD. We raised questions as to that. We have records. So the fact that deductions were being made for people's accounts and all that. And so in resolving the matter, government came to say, let's reduce the charges applied on USSD as being applied by the banks. 698 kobo is far lower than what was charged before. Before now, it should be as high as 10 naira per session, as high as 20 naira per session. So in actual fact, it's actually a reduction in the USSD charge. And it's now more transparent. And it gives the user a choice of yes to continue or no not to continue. And so I think we should commend government in this regard. We also should thank the minister, we should thank the governor of CBN and also our regulator, the NCC, for championing this. And I think it's in the best interest of the public, actually, because before now, indeed you are being charged for USSD, but it's way in excess of the current rate. And then you didn't have a choice, but now you have a choice of yes to continue or no not to continue. So that's where we are.
It's a good way to leave it. Chairman of the Association of Licensed Telecom Operators of Nigeria, out on Engineer Gbenga Adebayo. Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.